Hello, sophomores. Let's get to our first words on our vocab for 3.2, Part 1. Let's get to the Tong Dynasty. The Tong Dynasty is most known for basically retaking over what the Han Dynasty had in the classical era. The Tong Dynasty is a powerful post-classical civilization. It happens after the short-lived Sui Dynasty, which was able to build the Grand Canal. And the Tong Dynasty builds a very strong very strong centralized state in China that is able to use the trade routes like the Silk Road and the Indian Ocean trade route to gain power. It's also very well known and historically significant for its civil service exams. You can put this down for both definition and historical significance. The civil service exams were pretty much Confucius exams that were brought back in. So the Tong Dynasty reestablished Confucianism exams, and it was basically testing that you could take these tests, and this would be basically your position in the government would be based more on your merit than just on being related to someone. And this will last. The civil service exams are very historically significant. They last from the Tong Dynasty. They go into beyond that with the Ming Dynasty, and they keep on the Song Dynasty and the Ming Dynasty, and they continue this Confucian tradition of basically meritocracy. Take the civil service exam, and that will allow you to move up in society. Let's get to our next word, which is patriarchy. Now again, patriarchy is basically a male-ruled society. So we first see patriarchy in the Neolithic Revolution, where we see that after hunters and gatherers, that males tend to have more power in civilizations, and we see that as a trend throughout history. Now in China, it is Confucianism, and Confucianism has a strong tradition of patriarchy, or having males be above females. In Confucianism, we even see in Neo-Confucianism, we see a tradition that wives are supposed to obey their husbands, is the tradition there. So this is patriarchy, which is very historically significant and continues to exist in Chinese societies under Confucianism. We're going to get to our next word, which you'll see in the reading, and that is the equal field system. So let's look at equal field system, what that really means. Equal field system, what happened was, we have to go back to the Han Dynasty again of the classical era. In the Han Dynasty, they were doing well for quite a while. The dynasty lasted in 2 parts, but it lasted 400 years. But what really led to the Han downfall was that you did have farmers the land was distributed to farmers. But what happened was, because farmers divided their fields to their sons, not daughters, it's patriarchy. What happened is if you had a lot of sons, you had to divide your fields. And what happens is if you have like 3 sons, they become poorer than you just because they get less land. And people with less sons, they would get more land. Well, there was also taxes that had to be paid too. So after a while, what happens is landlords start to gain power and start to take land in the Han Dynasty. And this creates a big problem because you have a lot of people in the Han Dynasty who start losing their land. So Tong Dynasty thinks, long way to the definition here, the Tong Dynasty thinks, we need to stop this. So they develop an equal field system. The equal field system basically says, okay, you can only give 1/5 of your land to your son. The rest of it will be redistributed to everyone in an equal field system to guarantee that farmers will always have land, no matter how poor they are, no matter how many sons that their father may have, that landlords can't take this land away from them. So definition, long time to get there, equal field system is a system of land redistribution, or giving out land to poor farmers or all people, so that more people don't get more land than others. So we don't have a big difference in the farmers between rich and the poor, those who have a lot of land and those who don't have much. It's significant It's a fair way for distributing land. It also is more fair for taxation, as we start seeing they have less problems with their farming than that was in the Han Dynasty before them. Our next word here is tributary states. Now, tributary states are pretty much China wanted trade. China was all about trade. They knew that trade was a way to get wealth. However, China's always had a tradition of, not always, but has had a large tradition of viewing outsiders as barbarians or not as good as their society. So what they said is, we'll do a tributary system where we'll take these outside tributary states and they're going to be able to trade with us in China. We will let them trade with us. However, we want them, barbarians, outsiders, tributary states around China, to come into our capital, kowtow, bow, literally put their head down on the ground. Maybe some of my bald spot there. Towards the emperor. And then we'll trade after you basically pledge allegiance to our cultural superiority over you. They definitely do this over a place like Korea, for example. And so Koreans travel to China, kowtow, bow before the emperor, adapt Chinese customs, and then China is willing to trade with them after they basically, put themselves in front of the China and say, yes, you're superior. Historically significant because China still trades. However, China wants trade on their terms with people coming to them. Very different than like the Islamic Caliphites and also the Mongols. All right, let's get to our next word, which is the Byzantine Empire. Now, the Byzantine Empire, first thing you want to remember about the Byzantine Empire, they thought of themselves as Romans, that they were still the Roman Empire. And they lasted until 1453, almost 1,000 years after the Western Roman Empire fell. Western Roman Empire, let's take a look at that. Western Roman Empire was in this area. That fell in 476 to the Visigoths. This empire here with the capital of Constantinople, which was a major trade city, very historically significant, especially in the Mediterranean trade, and even the Hanseatic trade up here, very historically significant in their trade. They were able to last until 1453. They were kind of like a middle ground. We had the Islamic Caliphates right here. We had Europe up here. They existed right here. They had a lot of trade. They were the most advanced Christian civilization of this time. And they're able to make it till 1453 with beginning with their strong emperor. And let's get to that dude, which would be Justinian. So let's look at Justinian and the code of Justinian. Now, as you're reading here, says Justinian was actually in the classical era. So he was in the classical era. He ruled the Byzantine Empire after the fall of Western Rome. But he's actually able to take a lot of the power back. He's able to make big gains in taking a lot of land, and even looks like the Byzantine Empire might reconquer the Roman Empire and just continue being the Roman Empire again. Doesn't quite work that way. But he establishes the Code of Justinian, which is very historically significant. It is a combination of old Roman laws, like the 12 Tables, brings in a lot of Christian elements as the Byzantine Empire becomes a Christian empire, and it is laws that tax collectors can use. It's consistent laws that are in the Byzantine Empire. A lot of punishments are almost, Hammurabi-like with torture, mutilation, death, as you can see from the reading. But it builds on a successful Roman tradition, law and order, and is able to keep that going in the Byzantine Empire, or the continuation of the Eastern Roman Empire until 1453. But the Byzantine Empire was under threat. The Islamic Caliphites were very strong, and they were encroaching and coming onto their land. And slowly, they do start taking more and more land away from the Byzantine Empire. We'll see more about this with the Ottoman Turks in our next era. But the Byzantines are able to establish what's called a theme system. Basically, a theme system is they put a military general in charge of a theme or a province or a state. Here we see a number of these themes. So you got like a general, a military general in charge, and the peasants or the farmers pay taxes, and it goes mostly to that general. They're responsible for getting them to the emperor in Constantinople. And what they're able to do is They're able to give incentives for increasing grain, taking more land, and they're able to hold onto their land, even gain a little bit of more land with this theme system as the Islamic caliphates are beginning to come in and take some of this land. So the theme system is a way to organize it. They're under the Code of Justinian. They're able to get more grain in here, and they're able to hold off Muslim advances for a while. Okay, along with this also there's this concept of Caesaropapism. Caesaropapism is basically putting the rule of the religious rule and the political rule under one figure. In Caesaropapism, the emperor in the Byzantine Empire basically has the power of politics, but also has the power of religion. Now, there is a religious leader called the Patriarch. The Patriarch, sounds like patriarchy, doesn't it? He's a dude. It's a male. Yeah, patriarchy. Some sexism there. In Caesaropapism, the emperor is the head of basically the top. The patriarch or the religious leaders underneath him. So what we see is the real religious and political power ruling the land and religion is in one figure. That's in Caesaropapism. That is the emperor's ruling that. Very similar to what's going on in the Islamic states with the caliphate, and the caliph who is seen as basically the religious and political ruler. So in both the Byzantine Empire and is the Islamic states, we see a similarity with their leaders having both political and religious rule in their empire. Basically, they have the power. That is part 1. I hope you guys got this, and we'll get to part 2 in a little bit here. Good luck with your notes. See you later.